64, 32, 500, negated. Let's go. Spright is here, and it is top tier in the TCG, and many consider this to be the best tier 0 deck. Or is it? You tell me what your definition of tier 0 is. I'll be providing you with the must-know tips for Sprites plus top-tier gameplay and how to play this deck guide. And for this video, we are doing a $100 giveaway. You don't have to be playing Master Duel, or you could play Master Duel. I'm giving you $100 PayPal. You just have to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else you want to see from the TCG or anything Yu-Gi-Oh related. Let's hop in. Now let's begin with the must-know tips. Tip number 1, is this really a tip? This is going to be your base deck, essentially like this. Now let's go into tip number 2, gigantic Spright. A lot of people miss this. I've been watching a lot of gameplay, but it's attack. It's original attack. That's very important. It becomes doubled, 3,200 double. So when you're going second, you always want to think with gigantic Spright that potentially you want to lead with a Crystron Hulk or a Spright Elf before you make your gigantic Spright, if possible, to get that 3,200 boost. And even better, this 3,200 becomes 6,400 attack if you can make a rank 2 alongside it, because the Cat Shark will double the original attack, which becomes 3,200, which will now be 6,400 attack. Tip number 3, and this is a big one. When you use Totally Awesome to tribute itself to negate your opponent's card, do not chain your Spright Elf to re-summon it back on the field when your opponent has a monster for that extra negate. If you negate, then chain the Spright Elf on Chain Link 3, what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to Call by the Grave, which will be devastating, or even DD Crow. So you potentially do want to think about playing around these cards. Ideally, if they Call by the Grave your Toad, and no one's really going to fall for this after they learn the deck, but maybe you'll know early on, you want to change the Call by the Grave, the Spright Elf, to re-summon the Toad from the graveyard to dodge it. Also dodging DD Crow. Tip number 4, Effect Veiler. You want to play around Effect Veiler by using your quick play Spright starter in the draw phase or standby phase. That's going to help you dodge the Veiler. You could Spright starter, summon your blue within the draw or standby phase, completely dodging the Veiler. Tip number 5, I see this misplay a lot. People are summoning the Spright Red to negate a monster effect, potentially protect you from a Nibiru play if you're going to bravely, crazily summon your gigantic Spright as your 5th monster. Now, it's important to know that when you activate your gigantic Spright, you don't detach as a cost. So what happens is, if you activate the gigantic Spright, they activate a hand trap that you want to stop, maybe Nibiru or something else. And by the way, I do know this does stop Nibiru. You summon this on your 4th monster or earlier, they can't summon Nibiru after this resolves. But if that's not the case because you swarm the field with the Spright Red, you're not going to be able to chain the Spright Red to tribute the gigantic Spright to negate their hand trap, because you're essentially, not really the term negating, but you're also stopping your own gigantic Spright because it needs to detach the material on resolution. So what I'm trying to say is, make sure you have another monster with the Spright Red to tribute to protect your gigantic Spright. The Spright Carrot. It's very important to know that the Spright Carrot, when it negates a card, it's negating the effect, not the activation. So you tribute another monster, and then if you try to negate the skill drain, guess what? Skill drain stays up. Your monster's still negated. So if you chainlink 1 monster effect, they chainlink 2 skill drain, you chainlink 3 Carrot to negate, it will still negate your chainlink 1 monster. But, and it's a big but, if the Carrot tributes a rank 2/link 2, in addition to the effect's negates, you're also going to destroy the card you're negating. And while we're talking about the Carrot, you could be thinking, what's the big difference between negating an activation and the effect? Well, we heard about the downside of it. What about the good side? It's actually good when cards like Branded Fusion come into play, because this states that you can only activate 1 Branded Fusion. This is why Ash Blossom's really good against Branded Fusion, and this is similar to an Ash Blossom. You negate their Branded Fusion with your Carrot, they cannot activate another Branded Fusion because you did not negate the activation. So it's an upside and a downside. Next tip, which you'll see in the gameplay, the Crystron Hulk combo. If you Crystron Hulk, what you want to do is use it to summon an Ash Blossom or any tuner from your deck, and then use your Swap Frog to return it back to the hand. You will see that in the game gameplay. Also remember that Crystron Hawk, which we mentioned earlier, can be used for the Exceed summon of Gigantic Spright. Now, one of the most important things when learning a deck is what are the restrictions, and the two main restrictions are on the Spright starter and the Gigantic Spright. If you use the Spright starter to commit to, which you're maybe going to want to do in the draw phase, you are now locked into level 2, rank 2, link 2 monsters for the rest of the turn. And this could really mess you up if you're trying to do a Crystron Hawk in Ash play. Catch your opponents doing this, because if you try to do it, it's not going to work out. You can't summon the level 3 Ash, and it's not level 2 or lower. You can't even summon an Effect Veiler off of the Crystron Hawk to return it back. You will also not be able to Unicorn, and if you're going second, you're not going to be able to whip out the Zeus. And everything I said about the starter is going to apply to the Gigantic Spright also. Be careful in activating this effect. You will be committing into being locked into level 2, rank 2, link 2, but your opponent's going to be locked in also, so they cannot Nibiru. Before I show you some Japanese deck lists, here are some cards I am playing within my deck. I'm liking the Psyframe Gamma with the Emergency Teleport. Japan has Gamma at limited 1 to 2, and I think the Emergency Teleport's also semi-limited. I'm enjoying 2 to 3 Pot of P in the deck. I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about Avermax beating Tier Limits, which wasn't really a big contender early on when Spright was Tier 0, so maybe this is going to be the new card you definitely want to have in your extra deck. And in general, DD Crow is really being hyped right now because the Tier Limits, they activate in the graveyard. If you DD Crow the Tier Limit, they lose the entire fusion summon. Now, to be very quick before I hop into the gameplay, I'm going to show you some tournaments. They have varying different amount of players. Like this only had 39 players, but it's going to give you a good idea of how to build your deck. Actually, this looks really whack. I don't know about this deck. How about this one? Let's move down to here. This one looks a lot more normal. You have the Beaver. Beaver kind of works like a Deep Sea Diva, very similar. This deck right here looks super standard, pretty much using our base build plus everything else right there, playing Apollo USA. Here's another good sample deck list on how to play Spright. I'm looking for anything that's not standard. Look at that Gamma at 1 with Italia 2. You got 3 and 3. Do you want to play 3 and 3? Maybe they wanted to, and you could actually do it if you want to. And then this is going to be the final Spright build I'm going to show you. Then we're going to hop into some gameplay. This is the deck I've been messing with. This is far from optimal, just play testing. I've been taking the Dupe Frog in and out. I dropped Ash Blossom because I really want to try out Triple Crossout Designator. I'm thinking this card's broken. If everyone's going to be playing Sprites, possibly you're going to be mixing up with also Tier Limits, but Crossout Designate, negating opposing Spright cards. What the heck? This card's limited 1 for a good reason, Japan, right? With playing the Crossout Designate, I wanted to put in other cards. Like I see a lot of people playing Dark Ruler No More. Let's negate that with the Crossout. Also negate Droplet with the Crossout. You fit and do you. Now for the first replay, we're going to start off going second against Spright. So you're going to learn Spright through them going first. Very standard. They didn't commit to the normal summon. They did that all within the draw phase so that I could not Effect Veiler if I had it. Special summoning the Jet. Jet searching for another Spright starter, so I'm thinking maybe they have the Spright spell that banishes. Non-target banish is pretty good. Now, a lot of people are playing the Soldier Dragons. I don't know, are a lot of people playing this? It's kind of like a Deep Sea Diva replacement or an addition. Kind of wild. It summons another one from the deck if we activate an effect. He's got the Gigantic Spright into the Swap Frog, sending the Ronin Toad, and that's what you want to do. And then you want to resummon the Swap Frog with the Splight Elf. And I'll probably be saying Splight instead of Spright the whole time. Splight Elf is going to be activating to resummon the Swap Frog. Swap Frog is going to send another frog. Now, Ronin Toadin's going to be able to banish the Swap Frog. And with 2 frogs in the field, you're now going to make the Omni negate. And make sure to put it behind the arrows of the Splight Elf because it makes it untargetable. So right now he has untargetable, negate a spell or trap, and an Omni negate that he could resummon onto the field. And since this is the mirror match, whatever he negates are totally awesome. It's going to be a good card that he steals because it's going to be one of his own cards. And we got the back row. I guess he did not have the non-targeting banish. He's just going to have another of the Spright starter. Now let's break this field. How are we going to break this? I'm going to draw phase. I want to, before the Totally Awesome is able to standby phase summon a Toad from the deck, I'm going to try to bait a negate with the Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport, very good because we want a level 2 on the field so that we could special summon the Sprites. If we normal summon the Spright, we do not get the effect. Only on special summon do we do. So we're going to also use the Spright starter. So we're getting Ash Blossomed right here. That's okay. I don't want to spoil this, but I'm going to spoil. We're going to win this turn. Will you believe it? Believe it. So now the Totally Awesome has been baited. No Toad on the field. Very good. We're going to open up with the Swap Frog. Nothing bad's happening. I know that the Spright Elf is going to resummon the Totally Awesome back in the field, so our next play will get negated. And now we have another monster negate. So we're going to have Omni negate, monster negate, spell and trap card negate. How do we play through that with this hand? Witness. He's summoning, he's summoning. We're going to special summon the Spright Blue. Blue is going to get negated. Since he did not tribute a Link 2 or Rank 2, it does not destroy my Spright Blue. Very good. We're going to special summon the Jet. Jet is also going to get negated and stolen by the Totally Awesome, tributing a Toad from the hand. So the Totally Awesome is still there. Very good. We're now going to Spright Elf. Spright Elf, resummon the Swap Frog. Swap Frog, send from the deck to the graveyard. We're going to now make the Gigantic Spright. I did talk about this in my tips. Do so to be 3,200. Make it with the Link. Now the Swap Frog is going to come from the deck with the effect of the Gigantic Spright. We're going to send a Dupe Frog because it's the last frog we have in the graveyard. Banish from the graveyard, summon the Ronin Toad in. Yes, look at this Cat Shark, 6,400 attack. I don't know why this is an attack position, but let's go. Lethal damage. Holy moly, what was that? 5,700 damage. Now the deck is very good for going turn 1, but I want to show you another turn 2. Why not? So this is going to be a disruption as he could link summon with my monster. He's got a back row set. We're going to E-Telly, Spright Starter, summon both of them. Come forth, Blue and Gamma within the draw phase. The Blue's going to grab a monster negates, so I do want to negate the link. And we're going to special summon it. Now we're going to be searching for a spell. This will be the non-targeting Banish. So we have pretty much a counter for both cards right now. Banish the back row, negate the monster. We are now going to make a Crystron Hulk. Why am I making Crystron Hulk here? Because in my tips, you generally want to try to Hulk or Spright Elf, if you could do so, to make sure your Gigantic Spright is going to be 3,200 attack. We are definitely going to negate that. Negate, and he's also going to chain Ghost Ogre to my negate, so now my Spright Red's about to get destroyed. Now, it's not negating my Spright Red, but this is a perfect opportunity to get banishing with the Spright Smashers. This will require me to banish my Spright off the field to banish that back row, so this is a perfect opportunity. We also banish from the grave. Now we are going to be resolving, summoning the Deep Sea Diva, making the 3,200 attack Gigantic Spright. We're going to summon a Swap Frog from the deck, sending the Ronin Toad in. We're going to normal summon a Dupe Frog, making the Spright Elf. Elf, summon Swap Frog back in the field. Send the Frog from the deck to the graveyard again. We're now going to Shokan into the Cat Shark. Cat Shark, boost up to 6,400 attack. We're not done. We've only just begun. Resummon the Ronin Toad in, and this is not 1,600. It's 3,200. 64, 32, 500, negated. Let's go. Yes. Wait. Nope, we're good. He's just adding from the graveyard to the hand. Oh my. Let's get popping off. Diva into Diva. Special summon the blue, grabbing the red. I do want to play around a Nibiru here. I know the Gigantic Spright does so, but when I do the Crystron Hulk play to grab back the Ash Blossom, we're going to need something else to stop that Nibiru. So Ash is going to come back to the hand. We got the Spright. If something happens here, we will be negating. No negate, summon the Swap Frog. Swap Frog is going to send the Ronin Toad in, return the Ash back to the hand. Very good play. We're going to make the Elf. I'm going to prioritize keeping the red and the carrot on the field. Summon the Swap Frog back to the field, send the Frog. We're going to banish and then summon the Frog to now make a Totally Awesome in Masquerena. Now Masquerena with the Avermax, very good. Otherwise, the Goddess is going to be very good. Goddess with your opponent's monsters, and the Totally Awesome is going to summon another Frog on the field. So that's additional materials to help summon your Goddess. And also, the Unicorn is also very good. Let's hop right back in. What are we playing against? Totally Awesome, summoning this. I was trying out no Dupe Frog, so this is a no Dupe Frog version. What the heck? Scareclaw. I'm going to negate. He's going to Called by the Grave, mates. Well, that does stop my Totally Awesome, but I'm going to chain the Elf to resummon the Totally Awesome back in the field, dodging the Call by the Grave. A lot of people early on, they're going to probably fall for this play, but they'll catch on. So you are negated. Okay, you are negated, and you are scooping. You want to see more tier laments? Let's get tier lamenting. We're going to Jet into blue. Blue, grab another Jet. Keck, wait, why did we do that? Because the first gen did not activate. We had to normal summon it. Got the Smashers now. Some people like grabbing the Spright starter instead of Smashers. You tell me your preference. I think non-targeting Banish is pretty good. We're going to Gigantic, summon the Swap Frog. Frog said Ronin. We're going to make the Elf. I'm going to prioritize keeping my Gigantic Spright on the field. We could have summoned this in defense instead. The Elf's going to resummon the Swap, send, and then Banish to now make the untargetable Totally Awesome. Got Imperm, Smashers, Ash, and this is going to be great. The Dupe Frog is great because my other monsters cannot be targeted for an attack. The Elf is tiny, so now they can't force out any weird plays. What are you going to do? The field spell is so good. I know this because I was playing the deck myself, so I'm thinking, no, I'm going to negate with Totally Awesome. I know they could have another one that's a big risk, but the field spell searches, the field spell pops cards on the field. I'm negating it. Totally Awesome. I'm not going to steal the field spell, by the way. We're going to grab back the Swap Frog, summon. I'm going to use the Ash on that. You know, if I'm going to, I forget if we did it in this replay, but if I add back the Ash, we're using the Ash. I'm going to be negating that Mad Lad. Now, if you Ash the field spell, they still get the ability to pop cards on the field. So I did want to Totally Awesome negate instead. We're going to be summoning the Totally Awesome back in the field. Don't Totally Awesome Chainlink 2, then Elf Chainlink 3 to resummon it, because then you're going to get blown out by that Call by the Grave, which will negate your negate. Not good. Nope, that's a scoop. Now we are upon the final replay. Let's get replaying Diva into Ash. Okay, that's not cool, but we're going to summon the blue. Blue, search for Jet. Jet, get searching for the starter right here. We're not grabbing the Smashers. I want to make big plays. I do want to make Christian Hulk. So generally, if I'm going to Hulk, I'm going to be summoning the red to protect it. And now we Hulkin. Imperm is going to negate. Now, by the way, the Hulk couldn't even summon a level 3 tuner right here, but it did eat up the Imperm, so I'll take it. And having a 3200 attack Gigantic Spright, not that bad, especially making it untargetable, even though you're not going to be grabbing your Ash Blossom here because this locks you out. So we have Imperm, Ash, and we're still going to have an amazing field. We're going to summon the Swap Frog with a Gigantic, using a Link monster to make it 3200, and he knows what's going on there. This is just crazy. Look at that. Imperm, Ash. We still have Monster Negate. We're going to have the double Omni Negate with the Totally Awesome. Let's go. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to join the $100 giveaway. We out.